Hey guys, hope things are going well. We want to go ahead and do some of our question and answers. This week our first question is, do you have a favorite steel and handle combination? For me, my two big steels, I'm gonna make two here, is A2 and ADCRV2. And as far as the handle combination goes, mixed with those, I like anything natural, but the big thing is I love walrus ivory and stag would be my 2 and 2.
So I don't really have a favorite. I try and use as many different materials as I can. The knife that I think has been most popular for me, the steel was RWL 34. It had bolsters with some Damascus, and then the handle was pearl. So for me, it's all about using colors and combining the different colors together. And the pearl and the Damascus worked out perfect.
The next question I think was mostly pointed at me. It is, how do you get that antique look on carbon steel? There's several different ways to get an antique look or a patina put, whether you're doing mustard or just etching with ferric chloride, whatever the case may be. The way I do mine, or at least part of how I do mine, is the way John Cohey does, and you can check out his videos. He did with Chris Crawford, kind of explains what he does, and I've modified some things and changed it, but I'm not going to get too far into detail on how I do it. It's kind of my one thing.
Okay, next question. Any tips on finishing burlap scales? Do you fill the bubbles? Now, I don't use a lot of burlap on my handle materials, as some of you might have noticed. But the best advice I can give you is to buy burlap scales that have been made from a proper manufacturer. They tend to have less bubbles, and if you do have bubbles, filling them up with a little bit of super glue, I think is the easiest way of going about doing it.
Personally, for me, the biggest advice I can give you is try to take it to 400 grit on the machine, but you're going to have to hand finish burlap, period. Once you got 400 on the machine, go to 220 and then 400 at least by hand, and then use some Scotch-Brite, first the gray and then the white, and just work it in. Make sure you're using a piece of leather behind the sandpaper as you're doing it to make sure you don't get any dips and stuff. But as far as the voids, for me, I don't ever fill them. I leave those alone. Next question is, do you have a preference on using slow cure or fast cure epoxy? I'll let you go first.
Well, I don't use epoxy, so I use screws. So it doesn't really matter if it's fast or slow. Now, in the past, when I have had to use epoxy and I had to be in a mad rush, I would use the 5 minutes, and I've never had any problems with it. But it's always easier to use the slow cure. It allows you a lot more time to be able to put the handles together. If you've made a mistake, take it apart, put it back together again. Where the 5 minute, if you've given up your 5 minutes and it starts getting tough, getting those scales off the knife is near impossible.
For me, I always prefer the slow cure. I use a lot of the G-Flex, and it's about a 70-minute pot life, I think it's something like that. I like the slower cure. Number one, like Dirk was saying, it gives you more time, more flexible to work on things in case you got to change something, whatever, take it back apart. But two, it's rare that I ever glue up one thing at a time. Typically, I'll glue up batches of 6 to 14 knives at a time. Having that long pot life lets me use that. And also, I think you can get G-Flex in a quick cure, but I do use the 5-minute epoxy from Pops every once in a while if it's something real quick, and it's not going to be under direct shear load, because the 5-minute epoxies typically turn harder. They're more of a crystalline structure is how you'd say it, or whatever. But it's just more brittle, whereas that G-Flex still always has a little bit of flex in it. So
it's the same as if you use super glue, or it gets too hard, and when you have a shock on that piece that you've used, the glue will actually crack. Where the 30 minutes actually gives you more of a kind of rubberized, shock absorbing kind of finish.
Good point. And the last question we had was, how do we get listed on the Fellow Maker site? How do we get our gear put on the Fellow Maker site? It is a pretty cool thing, and we're pretty happy with the way it's working so far. If you are a maker and you want to have gear, whether it's t-shirts or hoodies or whatever, list it on our website. Drop us a line. Go to the website, hit the contact us, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're looking for. It's a great deal for everybody. It saves you a lot of headache. Dirk does an amazing job designing a lot of this stuff, and there's no cost in it for you if you already have the artwork. But be sure to check it out, and thank you for all the support.
Yeah, it's that time of year. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you guys for watching us. We appreciate the support.
Thank you for all the support. Be sure to click that subscribe button below, and y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.